Epitaphs of echoes. A graveyard horror. The iron gates of Elmwood Cemetery groaned under their own weight as Elias pushed them open. A guttural wind, laced with the tang of decay, whipped through the overgrown grounds, rustling the skeletal branches of ancient oaks that clawed at the twilight sky. Headstones, like jagged teeth, poked through a sea of untamed weeds, their faded inscriptions whispering forgotten stories in the dying light. Elias, a young history professor with a penchant for the macabre, had received an anonymous note, a cryptic message scrawled on aged parchment. Seek the truth beneath the weeping willow, Elmwood at midnight. Curiosity, a relentless itch he couldn't ignore, had propelled him here, to this desolate graveyard bathed in an unsettling stillness. He navigated the treacherous path, his boots crunching on brittle leaves and the occasional bone fragment. The air grew colder, a prickling sensation crawling beneath his skin. A shiver, not entirely from the wind, snaked down his spine. He reached a clearing dominated by a colossal weeping willow, its gnarled branches draping the ground like a weeping shroud. Beneath its inky canopy, an air of profound melancholy hung heavy. As Elias approached, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A lone crow perched on a nearby headstone, its obsidian eyes fixed on him with an unnerving intensity. It cawed once, a harsh, unsettling sound that echoed through the graveyard, and then took flight, vanishing into the deepening shadows. Suddenly, a gust of wind ripped through the willow, its leaves thrashing wildly. A low moan, almost human in its despair, resonated from beneath the tree. Elias's heart hammered against his ribs. Fear, a cold, metallic taste in his mouth, threatened to overwhelm him. But the insatiable hunger for knowledge, the thrill of the unknown, held him rooted to the spot. Tentatively, he knelt by the base of the willow. The earth here was disturbed, freshly turned. Curiosity warring with apprehension, Elias brushed away the loose soil with trembling fingers. A glint of metal caught his eye. He unearthed a weathered copper box, its surface etched with arcane symbols that sent a jolt of unease through him. Hesitantly, he pried the lid open. A yellowed manuscript lay nestled within, its pages brittle with age. The script was archaic, yet strangely familiar. As he deciphered the faded ink, a chilling realization dawned on him. This wasn't some historical document. It was a grimoire, a book of forbidden rituals. The manuscript spoke of a malevolent entity, a hunger that lurked beneath the veil of reality, trapped within the confines of Elmwood Cemetery. The ritual inscribed within its pages, if performed, would tear down the barrier and unleash the entity upon the world. A wave of nausea washed over Elias. He slammed the grimoire shut, the metallic clang echoing in the oppressive silence. Had he stumbled upon some deranged prank, or was this a terrifying truth? Panic gnawed at him. He had to get out of here. As he scrambled to his feet, a low growl erupted from the depths of the graveyard. The wind picked up, swirling fallen leaves into a miniature tornado. The headstones seemed to shift, their shadows lengthening and distorting into grotesque shapes. A chorus of moans rose from the earth, a symphony of the damned. Terror choked Elias's scream. He turned to flee, but his foot caught on a gnarled root, sending him sprawling. The grimoire tumbled from his grasp, landing open at his feet. In the pale moonlight, he saw it, a crimson handprint smeared across the final page, a mark fresh and pulsating with an unnatural heat. A guttural laughter, devoid of any humor, filled the air. The earth beneath him began to tremble. A colossal hand, skeletal and clawed, erupted from the ground, followed by another and another. A monstrous entity, its form a grotesque amalgamation of bone and shadow, materialized from the depths of the graveyard. Elias scrambled back, his heart a frantic drum in his chest. The entity loomed over him, its eyes burning with an unholy light. It spoke in a voice that scraped against his sanity, a promise of oblivion whispered in the ancient tongue of the dead. In a desperate bid for survival, Elias lunged for the grimoire. Flipping through the pages with frantic haste, he searched for a counter-ritual, anything to banish this monstrosity. His eyes caught a passage, a complex incantation that required an offering, a sacrifice of something precious. Tears welled up in his eyes as he thought of his wife, Sarah, and their unborn child. He ripped a page from the grimoire, a piece of himself, a symbol of his love and his future. With a choked sob, he held it out towards the entity. The wind howled, snatching the page from his trembling hand. It fluttered in the air, a fragile white butterfly against a canvas of darkness. The entity's laughter intensified, a cruel mockery of Elias's futile attempt. With a sickening crack, the ground beneath Elias split open. A skeletal hand, cold and lifeless, grasped his ankle, dragging him screaming into the abyss. The graveyard echoed with his desperate pleas, swallowed whole by the chorus of the damned. The wind calmed, the moans faded. The colossal entity retracted its appendages, sinking back into the earth, leaving behind a yawning chasm. The weeping willow stood silent witness, its leaves glistening with an unnatural dew. Dawn broke, casting a pale light on the ravaged graveyard. A lone crow circled overhead, its mournful cry echoing through the stillness. A figure emerged from the shadows, Sergeant Miller, a grizzled police officer with a haunted look in his eyes. He'd received a frantic call from a woman claiming her husband had disappeared at Elmwood Cemetery. As he surveyed the scene, the disturbed earth, the open grimoire, the single crow circling overhead, a chilling premonition settled in his gut. He knew, with a certainty that gnawed at his soul, that Elias wouldn't be coming home. Days turned into weeks, then months. The search for Elias yielded nothing. The authorities declared it an unfortunate disappearance, a case quickly relegated to the cold files. Sarah, left a widow before her baby's first breath, spiraled into grief. She clutched the torn page of the grimoire, the only shred of evidence of her husband's final moments. One moonlit night, consumed by despair and a morbid curiosity, Sarah ventured into Elmwood Cemetery. She walked amongst the headstones, the tears blurring her vision. Reaching the weeping willow, she knelt, her sobs echoing in the quiet night. A single crow swooped down, landing on the tombstone beside her. Sarah felt a presence, a cold touch at the base of her spine. Lifting her head, she saw it, an emaciated figure, its eyes filled with the same unholy light that had consumed Elias. It spoke, its voice a raspy whisper, offering a twisted deal. In exchange for her unborn child, it promised to return Elias. Sarah's mind reeled. Grief and desperation warred with a maternal instinct that burned as fiercely as the entity's infernal light. In a moment of horrifying clarity, she realized the entity's true intent. It wasn't Elias it wanted, but a fresh soul, a new vessel for its malevolent hunger. With a strength born of love and loss, Sarah ripped the page of the grimoire from her grasp. It was a desperate act, but one fueled by a flicker of defiance. Holding it out towards the entity, she screamed a curse, a desperate plea for the entity to return to the abyss from where it came. The air crackled with dark energy. The grimoire page fluttered, then disintegrated into a flurry of black ash. The entity recoiled, a scream of pure rage tearing from its throat. But the entity, tethered to the incomplete ritual, couldn't fully break free. A blinding light erupted from the chasm where Elias had disappeared. It swallowed the entity whole, dragging it back into the depths along with its unearthly screams. The earth trembled, the headstones toppled, the weeping willow swayed violently as if in a hurricane. When the dust settled, silence reigned once more. Sarah lay sprawled on the cold ground, her body racked with sobs. She had survived, but at a terrible cost. The darkness had retreated, but with it, Elias's soul. She had saved her unborn child, but the price was a lifetime of solitude haunted by the memory of the night Elmwood Cemetery claimed her love. Years later, Sarah, a frail woman with eyes filled with unspoken grief, stood before the weathered headstone marking Elias's final resting place. A lone crow circled overhead, its mournful cry a constant reminder of the night she became a widow and a mother, forever bound to the whispers of the graveyard. The truth remained buried, a dark secret hidden within the pages of the recovered grimoire. a chilling testament to the horror that lurks beneath the seemingly serene facade of Elmwood Cemetery. The whispers of the dead had been silenced, but a chilling premonition hung heavy in the air that one day, the entity might rise again, seeking its vengeance on the living.